it's such an integral part of what I wanted to share in the beings, is that we're here to be human and we have the connection. And I am amazed at how the Council of Eight have been so patient with me, because, I've not trusted a lot of the times. Okay. I've not trusted information, and yet, even though I have received like testimonials and from clients, and I'm in awe of the information, but I've not trusted me. It's not been about not trusting them. It's been about me not trusting me. And it's just a really beautiful connection of love. When I go back onto old videos that I haven't still even put out there, they keep sharing the same thing: love, compassion. We're not in fear, and the way they speak through me is profound. I often think, oh, is this being consciously aware? Is this how we're meant to talk? and that's part of what I just love, is in the connection of how they come through, is they keep saying the same thing: love. And this has been the learning for me, is what does love truly mean? What does being in love truly mean to ourselves, without being reckless or selfish or whatever our human words are. And they often share with me that sometimes, most times, there's actually just no words for love. It just is.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. Today, I have a very special guest lined up for you, and I am stoked to get started. So without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Hey there, Cosmic Thrill Seekers. I'm Justin. This is Living Life Consciously, where we explore the extraordinary, ride the waves of inspiration, and embark on an adventure of limitless curiosity together.
And I'm Leslie, also known as Light Being Love, an eternal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. I'm very happy to be here. We're here with Michelle.
Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm Michelle Carpenter, and I am a channel for the Council of Eight and a spiritual medium. And thank you for having me today, everybody. I'm so excited to be here.
We're glad, because we're excited to talk to you. So let me introduce you to our audience so we can do that. Join us on this heartwarming episode of Living Life Consciously as we sit down with the incredible Michelle Carpenter, spiritual medium, author, grief and trauma intuitive, and energy healer. Michelle's journey is nothing short of transformative. Having faced deep personal trauma, she has turned her pain into purpose, helping others find their light and joy. In the book, The Beings, she shares with us her out-of-this-world experience with readers and with us. Michelle channels the powerful Council of Eight, angelic beings and ascended masters who guide individuals on their unique spiritual journeys. Through her intuitive gifts, Michelle helps clients peel back the layers of their subconscious, releasing blocks that hold them back from experiencing true joy and inner peace. In this episode, Michelle will share with us the wisdom on how to reconnect with your heart space, embrace your unique journey, and discover the profound joy that lies within. Whether you're dealing with trauma, anxiety, or just looking to deepen your spiritual practice, this conversation is filled with insights and energy healing. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, and your smile is just like glowing. You are just emanating pure bliss right now.
It's so interesting. Like when I hear, those words about myself, I'm like, wow. You kind of like, I kind of just go, shit, this is me? Like,
yeah.
So thank you for those beautiful words.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you for having me here. And I know we're here to talk about The Beings first and foremost, the book that's just launched. And
yes.
It's been quite a profound journey for myself in terms of writing, because you know, I don't know, many years ago, somebody said to me, you got to write your book, and then I managed to, you know, I never question. No, I do. Sometimes, but I never question how things and these connections happen. Okay. And, you know, because we know that we're here to elevate our consciousness. So for example, Amira managed to, you know, find me somehow, and I never questioned. That's where I was going with. I never questioned, like, how did you find me? Because that just feels like ego, and it doesn't really matter. And the beauty of this whole coming together, I mean, there is some extraordinary, I'm still reading through the chapters of the book, but there's some extraordinary human beings. And the funny thing is, our first Zoom meeting, I didn't know what ufology was. So I had to Google it. I was like,
wow.
I promise you. I was like, okay, let me just quickly, what is ufology? Oh, UFOs. Okay, you know. But I really didn't know. So there's some phenomenal stories in this book. And a part of my showing many years ago and what I do work-wise is, for me, it's, and I love the way Leslie said it. It's the part-time of being a human being, and it's how do we peel those parts of ourselves back? How do we work with the inner parts of ourselves? And I share very descriptively in the book a big part of my journey. I came from a background of being sexually abused by my mom's younger brother. And I used to protect him for many years. And it's the most profound thing when we've been abused in some ways, that we feel the need to want to protect those that have hurt us, you know. And I was 5. And I've started off in my chapter with a letter that I wrote to him that I'd held on to my heart for many years. And, you know, I've shared a little bit about the Council of 8 and then how they've always been a part of my journey. And I was shown this in a past life hypnosis that, you know, kind of when I came into this world, that they've always been around. And when you look back in our journeys of life, there's always been a connection of some sort, you know, but my connection was very suppressed. So because of the amount of trauma that I've been through in this lifetime. So yes, it's a letter, and for me it was very much a time in my chapter to share my truth. And it was a beautiful process because, you know, learning how to write is really challenging.
Yeah.
Even though we speak English, I can write English, I'm pretty good at English, I think. My husband often goes, you're not getting the context. I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. Like, I've just said it. Like, what do you mean context, you know? Clearly, I'm still learning English, but to write it in the way that is intentional. And that's what I love about Amira being the publisher. And we had a beautiful editor, Suri, who was very new, I believe, to the whole spiritual realms, and she said this has taught her so much. But it was very important for me to keep the essence of the words of what I was sharing.
Sure.
And my story, because my story may seem like a very heavy story and a very heavy traumatic background, because a few of the things that have been mentioned in the book is, you know, my sexual abuse. I then was a ballet dancer. I had bulimia. My father was a soldier in the Rhodesian War. And it's so fascinating because when I share these things on podcasts, people take umbrance to certain things like, she hasn't evolved yet because she's still mentioning Rhodesia. Well, it was Rhodesia. It's now called Zimbabwe. You know, there's certain things. Yeah, it's just fascinating how I know, and I've come over time. I've really just gone, you know, it unravels my story. And I know a lot of us have had interesting and at the same time what may feel like or be traumatic lives, you know, or traumatic, we've experienced trauma in some way, you know, and my lifetime has been very much experiential. So my dad being a soldier, he was in and out of the war. My mom was a young mother. I have an older brother. And over time, I've had to let go of a lot of fears, and I'm still working through some of those fears, some of those old traumas. So I had bulimia as a young girl. I lost my best friend at 16 and a half, and this is where spirit was guiding me, because she died in hospice in Johannesburg. And I remember sitting on the couch at 16 and a half, 17 years old and watching her parents come from a counseling session and still think to myself, how is this counselor not like just falling to pieces because you're surrounded by death,
Right.
Yeah.
And, I just remember her parents coming out. I remember sitting and my friend was, on her bed in front, and I was like, wow, how does this happen? So fast forward to me being 33 years of age, going through a divorce, and then starting to learn how to become a hospice caregiver.
Oh, wow.
So there's these pivotal moments in the book that I share because I've been affected by crime coming from South Africa. There's a few things that have happened in my life, and the biggest one perhaps is not only my sexual abuse, but at the age of 24, I knocked over and killed a young girl.
Wow.
I used to be a sales rep, and I was driving. I'd pulled off from a traffic light, and I'd bought a cool drink, and I looked down to put the straw in, and she misjudged my car. And it was something that you never get over. I've really and I continuously work through the feelings of taking a life, and
Wow.
and it was something that I just suppressed. So I was 24, got to the age of 33. And I'd been in a very abusive relationship in this 1 year, 1997, 98. In 6 months, my life had just, there was just so much happening, but all I did was just suppress it. And I think a lot of times that when we're in a fight, flight, fright response, we don't realize how much we actually just suppress.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking you were in straight survival mode, so you didn't have time to deal with it.
Yeah.
Completely. And most of my life had felt that way, I had my dancing, which was my escapism. But most of my life just felt that, we're just in this fight or flight, which is not completely my truth. But when I look back as a young girl, my mom was a very fearful woman, but she was a very angry woman, and I was the second child, and she had taken a lot of her anger. We used to get smacked, children were seen and not heard.
I've heard that all my life.
Yep. So I used to have tonsillitis, bronchitis, bladder infections for most of my adulthood, which is, bladder's all connected to anger. I used to have kidney infections. Like I say, tonsillitis at the age of 21, I had my tonsils out and I had a severe reaction. I was so sick. So my life has been experiential. And sometimes I just want to say to my guys, like, dudes, can you just push a freaking button and just anoint me and just let it be over and done with? And it's like, no. And the interesting thing is, I've just come through out of another dark night of the soul. I got so sick in July, and I was in this, what felt like this dark well. And I was like, really? And there's more? It's just the gift of being human. And I really, really, really was not too sure if I was going to come out of this experience. I knew the light was there, and I was still, it was like everything of being, and this is what I came to realize in this experience, and I'm now 52, is that I was being of service, not in service.
Okay.
And it was a massive, massive awakening for me. And, guess what my word for this year was? Because I give myself a word: nourishment.
Nourishment.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Well, nourishment
Of mind, body, and spirit, probably, though, right?
Well, again, 100%, but you never know how nourishment is going to show up in the way that you intended to. And mine was deep, deep, deep in the connection of letting go of so much of the old. The nourishment was around my mom, was around my father, was around how I never nourished myself or felt nourished as a young girl. So a big part of this purging, of writing this book, even though I've shared my story so many times, and it's all relative, so many times I've probably shared it like 20 odd times, but every time I share it differently. And writing this book, it really brought up a lot of subconscious deep emotions that I'd suppressed because I felt like I'd had double pneumonia. I never went to the doctor. And my husband kept saying, we've got to take you to the doctor. And I said, no, this is old. I need to let this come out. And I just was purging. I mean, I had a lot of gunk coming out of my nose and it went into my chest. And then I was bringing it all up. And this went on for weeks. It's the sickest I've been from ever since I can remember.
Wow.
So I feel like, this was like another activation. And this book really brought this activation of my truth. And because I've always been a truth speaker, but I used to throw it at people. And this is part of being a medium. Because I grew up in a very sarcastic environment. So I'd be like, blah, blah, blah. I'd question people. But why are you doing it like this? And my mom and dad would get embarrassed. Like, Michelle, just shut up. Shh. Don't. But why? Why would people behave this way? So I'm learning, and I've learned over this period of my life. And my divorce was my pivotal moment at the age of 33 to really have to shift the gears of suppression. So, I'd shared I was 24, 25, went through a very abusive, very toxic relationship. And in the same year, knocked over and killed this young girl. And the next year, I'd met my ex-husband. Within 8 months, we were married. And, my story of being a victim was hoping that somebody was going to rescue me. And I've come to realize over time that sometimes people cannot handle what we share with them, and it's not right or wrong or egotistical, but my sharing was every time I was in a relationship, my dad had affairs, my mom's dad had affairs, my ex-husband had an affair, and it was the best blessing that had ever happened in my life. Hard, really, really hard, because I'm Cancerian, so my family is everything to me. Mm-hmm. And I used to describe it as if like a pit bull had taken me by my Achilles heel, like it brought me down, but it brought me down into starting to explore my old feelings of suppression, everything that I'd suppressed.
Wow.
And, again, the universe is so wise. And I went to, and yet has such a fabulous sense of humor. So a friend had said to me, Michelle, why don't you go see a clairvoyant? I'm like, I don't know. Now I come from a reborn Christian background as a teenager.
Okay.
So Jesus has always been a part of my connection, like clapping, singing, the joy of just being in a spiritual church. Woo,
right.
And I'm always grateful for that because it was really just upliftment for me, but I got so stuck in what other people were doing. And I was devastated because we had friends that were sleeping together, and I'm like, what? This is against the Bible. You people are sinning, And I was like, I think I was just disappointed. I was kind of like, why am I not just going against the rule, like I should? So anyway, but I digress a little bit, and coming back to go see the clairvoyant, all he said to me, the one thing that stuck out, he was a young male, and the one thing that stuck out was, Michelle, you don't love yourself. And I remember in my head thinking, I want to throat punch this guy right now. Help me with my anger.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what you mean. And anyway, that then led me to go. He suggested going on to a hospice weekend, a retreat. And man alive, that weekend, every time I share this, like I try so hard, but it just popped me open because the facilitator got me to feel how I felt about knocking over and taking this young girl's life.
Oh, so okay.
And it was like my head split open, and they tried everything to just bring me back, but I was devastated. It still hits home really hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it was massive, and the beauty of the sharing is that her mom phoned me about 2 months later after the accident. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going back a little bit, and her name was Mary.
Mary.
She phoned to find out how I was. And I've come to realize, and this is part of my story, is compassion.
Sure.
Compassion and love is the only way forward. But I've had to learn to forgive myself. for all those parts that have happened. I've had to learn to forgive my uncle, my parents, myself.
Sure.
I didn't realize that at the age of 5 that I thought I should know better, but we just don't. So I still
work.
Absolutely.
A literal kid, yeah.
Absolutely. But we just don't know until we know, and so it's been a real, what I would call a lot of hard work, a lot of life-changing moments in my life, and it really does, it just pops my heart open to go, wow. It's kind of like they were leading me to all these different spaces, just being guided in the most profound ways.
Yeah.
But it's taken incredible depth to and a lot of hitting pillows. screaming into the pillows, because I wanted to heal, and I didn't want to carry my mom's stuff, and I didn't want to carry my dad's stuff and my nanas and my grandpas, and it still comes up in moments, in parts, every now and again, but it just kind of ascended me into a different way of being, and that's where I started to connect, because I started counseling. And then I started to see spirit. I started to sense spirits. I was sharing messages when I was counseling, and people were going, how do you know this? And when I look back, I can say I was a medium when I was little. I was just I think I just used to say things in picking up other people's vibes, and I wasn't gracious in the way I said things. No, still learning that one.
Subtlety is not one of my specialties either.
Oh gosh, and then I'm like, oh damn it! I always get Britney Spears' song, "Oops, I did it again." It's like, oh Michelle,
I did it again.
Exactly. Discernment. I'm learning discernment, but I'm realizing that in our words, when we share things, people will hear us when we share it in a very different tone, in a very different way. So do you guys have any questions? Sorry, I just go off on a tangent. And
no.
Oh, you're totally fine.
Yeah, that's such an incredible story.
Yeah.
You almost had me crying there a little bit.
Same. If anything, I want to stop to just give you a quick air hug.
I was thinking the same thing. I didn't want to interrupt her, but I wanted to I wish I could hug her. And so yes, I'm hugging you through the screen. Thank you for sharing your story, because you're not alone. You're one of the few that are speaking out in a compassionate and loving way. Not only for others, but for yourself. And I think that's a lot of what it's all about. And my thoughts a lot were, I guess I was thinking of the analogy of, we were planted here, like a seed in the earth, on the earth or whatever. And, in order to grow, I think spiritually, and to be able to do that, I had all these, I was just thinking of fertilizer, and we all know what that is, so you get a bunch of fertilizer, and the more fertilizer you have, which would be the not so good things happening, is really, I feel what makes you be able to grow the strongest spiritually while we're here. And I don't know, I had that whole thought process listening to your story and just imagining the growth that you had to go through to get where you're at. And so congratulations to you for, being strong through everything. And now you're here to share your story, and you shine, your energy is amazing. And it's just, it's just beautiful stuff.
We concur.
Thank you so much for those beautiful words. And I feel it's really important to share that, I'm still working through family dynamics and stuff, and I'd had a trigger last week, and I spoke out of tune, and I was like, I should have just gone for my walk on the beach first before I'd actually sent this voice message, and I feel it's really important, because I know as humans we like to put each other on platforms, or and I'm not here to want to be that person. I want to to anybody listening to this, I'm still full of shit, okay? Like literally, like I still have my shit. I have my moments, and excuse my language, but I'm not here to say like, yep, I've got all of it together. I'm still a work in progress, and I love the way you say that, Leslie, that it is. I'm still fertilizing myself and nourishing how different I want to be, you know, and as any, you know, enlightened person will share, that you just spend time with your family, or let your family trigger you, and then, you know, you're like, yep, there's still more work to be done. So it really, this life lesson has been huge, and what I love is that in my journey of I don't even like to call it awakening, because I think that's so out there in terms of like, oh, well, I'm awakened, and because it just brings a plus minus, you know. It's like everybody, if your eyes are awake and your heart is healing, you're awakened. And some people are just maybe not ready to awaken. So if we can meet them at where they're at, that is learning compassion. That is being with them in that space, you know. But even in spiritual platforms, there's such a separation I'm finding, and I sometimes do take the piss out of being spiritual, because everybody's like, I'm love and light. I'm like, not everything's love and light, people. Like, Jesus, do you live here on this earth? You know, it's tough. But, you know, and excuse me, I'm just very expressive, but it's
you're
like,
fine.
It is just kind of, I've seen this massive shift in how people are, yes, but they're not getting it. And I'm like, well, how do you know they're not getting it? How do you know? Because that's projection. How do you know that they're just in their space of wherever they're at? So like in my story of going back, and we all have a story to share. You know, I would project onto men, young men, about me being sexually abused in the hope that they would hear. And you could, now when I look back, I'm like, well, of course they didn't know what to do with that information. People just don't know what to do with that information. And it's taken years and years and years of me having to just go, all right, whew, you know, sometimes people don't know what to do in a space, because of where they're at, because sometimes we may have that automatic program. I may have that automatic program of I'm in fight, flight, fright response, and you know, and then I'm my self-worth is not, I'm doubting myself, and you know, and it's just a learning. We're here to learn, and the momentum is slow. It's kind of like, it's slow. And then every now and again we like, and then it's like slow again, you know, and I'm very good at sound effects.
I'm always making weird sound effects.
So sorry, I've taken so much time in sharing my story, but it's such an integral part of what I wanted to share in the beings, is that we're here to be human, and we have the connection, and I am amazed at how the Council of Eight have been so patient with me, because, you know, I've not trusted a lot of the times. I've not trusted information, you know, and yet, even though I have received like testimonials and from clients, and I'm in awe of the information, but I've not trusted me. It's not been about not trusting them. It's been about me not trusting me. And it's just a really beautiful connection of love. You know, when I go back onto old videos that I haven't still even put out there, they keep sharing the same thing: love, compassion. We're not in fear, and the way they speak through me is profound. You know, I often think, oh, is this being consciously aware? Is this how we're meant to talk? and that's part of what I just love, is in the connection of how they come through, is they keep saying the same thing: love. And this has been the learning for me, is what does love truly mean? What does being in love truly mean to ourselves, you know, without being reckless or selfish or whatever our human words are. And they often share with me that sometimes, most times, there's actually just no words for love. It just is. And that for me is, I hope one day when I take my last breath out of this physical form, that I go, okay, I got it.
That's so sweet.
Yay, I got it.
I think you might have a little bit of doubt in yourself even now, because I feel like you've got it, So
thank you. Well, what's so fascinating is a week ago I was on another beautiful person's podcast, and I said to her, man alive, I'm just choosing not to come back and blah 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 blah. And she said, Michelle, it sounds like you're still in resistance about coming back again. I was like, damn it.
You got a point. She called you out.
That today, I was driving on the main street of the town next to mine, and it's just a nice little main street with older buildings and this and that, and I see there's this homeless woman who is always around town, and oftentimes I see her on the highway, which is just, I feel like, is just a lot for her to be pulling a wagon. She's a little elderly woman, but and there was this one time, which is I guess a synchronicity in a way, which I wasn't even going to mention when I was talking about this in the first place, but that she was on the highway and I was coming off the side street that goes onto the highway, and, the light turns green for me to go. And so I'm looking for the oncoming to make sure it's okay for me to go. I almost hit this lady. Like, I could have so closely ran her right over, but by the grace of God or whatever, but I felt like it was just some significant thing. It took me, I was like, that's some sort of sign, and I've been noticing her a lot lately. I just see her around, but so I haven't personally got the opportunity to give her anything because I haven't crossed her path in that way, like where I can directly. And if I have something, I make it a point. Now I'm just going off, but to give people, if I have a couple dollars or if I have a food that's unopened that I'm able to give, like, here with me. And it's even a good idea to keep things on hand for that purpose alone, is to help, people in need, I think. And that's a compassion thing and a love thing completely. I just think that what my point was is that I see her on this main street, which is, I see a bunch of cars stopped, and I see a 12-year-old boy get out of the car, and he's giving her stuff, and she's, she's got everything she owns. She's sitting on her wagon with everything she has, and he's just handing her stuff, and it just did something to me, and it made me feel so good. And I was just like, this is change. I felt like it was change. Right? Yeah. It was a signal for me that things are, changing for the better. Like, this is great, to see this boy doing this, and the mom has the car stopped, I'm sure she's totally proactive with it. And I just hope that people see that and appreciate that. But it made me cry. I cried tears of joy from that. It moved me. And I was just like, I don't know, had a lot of hope for humanity in that moment.
Well, I love what you're sharing. I love that, Leslie, because, I know it's been a big weekend for you guys in the States with the change of Trump and Robert Kennedy. I mean, I'm not big into politics, but I follow Robert Kennedy because he just is such a big-hearted human. And he talks about the children, our children. And, one of his posts on Instagram was, "This is my spiritual journey." And it just fills my heart up with so much, because that's what we're wanting. We're wanting, I want to teach my children compassion. I say to my kids, take the word hate out of your vocab. And I call them out, and I'm like, no, you can say I don't like someone, or, it's okay not to like their behavior, but take the word hate out of your equation. Yeah. And everything
there's a vibration to that,
Absolutely. So that's for me, what you're sharing is the elevated consciousness of, it kind of is like pixelated as you were sharing the story, like boom, boom, boom. There it is. Oh, there it is. Wow. There it is.
And then I could just see the smile on the lady's face. It was just like, she was just so happy that somebody in the kindness with their heart, and I'm sure a child at that was doing that for her, and so I'm sure I think I could feel what she was feeling, even to some extent,
That's great.
Yeah, so that's a weird synchronicity, I think, but with you having actually accidentally, taken a life in that way, of which, I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, and so that's like one of the biggest self-forgiveness things I can even think of is, to have to, but
forgive yourself.
Done that because, I mean, it was an accident. And what are your thoughts on like pre-incarnation, like planning? I think I have a question for the council.
I've been thinking about that this whole time because I'm hearing all of Michelle's experience, and I'm like, man, when she made her soul contract, she must have she's like, throw me the doozy lessons, like poo-poo with the easy stuff. Like I need the real hard lessons. And it sounds like you're going through and checking them off. So it's amazing that you're here with us and smiling and learning and still growing and advocating for the fact that like you go through shit to grow through shit. And, sometimes you just like Earth School is not easy. It's not. Like, we come here to learn lessons. We don't come here for a soul vacation. We come here for soul elevation. Yeah. So it's like you got to go through stuff in order to elevate, right? So I think you're a generational trauma. Like, what is it called? Generational trauma. So like you're a generational trauma breaker. I feel like you're the one in the family that's coming here to like cut all the ties to all the BS and be like liberating everybody.
Thank you. And yes, and it really has been. Well, what's fascinating is I was in Elba Weinman was very kind to do a past life regression with me and a hypnosis, and I actually met the soul, the young girl that I'd knocked over and killed. She came to us. Oh wow. And I've worked a lot on my own, my own healing journey with regards to forgiveness. But she was delightful. She's just so beautiful. And Elba had put it on her YouTube channel, and it's just so beautiful to rewatch it because, there were questions on one podcast I was on, and again how people can get so activated and triggered, and because people know that I'm South African. One woman had said, let me guess, she was a black girl. And this happened in the apartheid era. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this what you've taken from this whole entire story that I've shared? And I just sent that person love because I was like, whoa, and then I realized I haven't articulated myself correctly. I had a court case that went on for almost 2 years. It was this massive great cloud that was over my head, and I was eventually acquitted. But it was huge. It was huge to just, number one, take a life, but number two, go in and out of court. And every time you have to come back, and you just live this life again of being in flux and wondering, am I going to go to jail or aren't I? And, there's just so much that people make assumptions on we all do, and we all judge and we all make assumptions. There's that 3-second assumption that we make based on how people look or whatever. And it's the learning of this flip of consciousness that I think that we are, or that I see that we are changing into. And it's about the learning. It's about how are we integrating our learning? How are we integrating those parts of ourselves that we do not like? There's parts of ourselves that I do not like. And Leslie, you picked up on it. There is still self-doubt. There is still moments where, in my own journey, where I've been so critical of myself, and I'm seeing it now with my children because they obviously have been programmed by myself and my husband. And, so yes, the intergenerational trauma has been changed because my parents wanted me to stay married to my ex-husband because my mom stayed married to my dad. And I'm just like, no ways, I'm not staying married. And a part of the forgiveness was with my parents because they just were like, you got to stay married, and I was like, well, that's conditional. That's not unconditional love. So there's parts that I've shared in the book as well, and again, everything is intentional. Everything, and there's so many beautiful parts in this book where there's so many different connections, and that's the awesomeness. Just like looking at your background, the universe is vast. So I always say to anybody, with the guidance of the Council of Eight. And I love what you said, Leslie, because they plant seeds. I've had clients ask them to say, well, can you tell me? And they say, no, we can share with you, we can suggest to you guys, but you're still going to do your own thing in any case. And that's true.
Right?
Like, hey, tell us, guys, what do we need to do? And then as humans, we still end up doing our own thing in any case. But that's the power of who we are. And that's what they remind us as the beings of light that they are, that we are powerful and that we have the power. And that's what I love, is that, they don't say, well, this is what you need to do. And they've been incredibly truthful. When people are in victimhood, one of my clients had shared with me she sent me an email, Michelle, I thought they were all about love. And I was like, whoa, what did they say now? Because I don't remember. Okay. And I prefer that because I'm a clear channel. It's like the information is coming through and it lands, and it's yours to do with what you want,
Okay.
Yeah.
But she said she was having a moan about life, and they literally interjected and went, blah, 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 blah. Oh. And she went, yeah, she.
Wow. Okay, bold.
And I said to her, well, did it stop you? And she said, yep, it stopped me. And they said, you are being a victim of life. And that's why I say they share truth, not comfortably so. But it makes sense because truth is defined in many different ways. And I've noticed for myself, often I'll say to my husband, just tell me the truth. But when he tells me the truth, I don't like the truth. I become like an Italian mama, like, I don't want to hear, And then he's like, but I'm confused. You asked for the honesty. And I'm like, oh, did I really? Not in that tone, So when they do come through, they do share it in a much gentler way.
Okay.
That it's absolutely heard and it's felt, and that's the beauty of their resonance. We all resonate with different frequencies at different times in our lives.
Absolutely.
And that's what I enjoy, is that we walk this journey together, and that's what they will share. So
we're all just walking each other home. That's what Ram Dass says. We're all just walking each other home.
Yes, I absolutely love that.
Did I cut you off? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, not at all. I asked if you'd like me to channel.
Yes, absolutely. I was actually going to ask you one quick question first, because it's been like sticking in my brain this whole time. Because the book came out on the 21st, if I remember correctly. Today's the 25th, and we haven't ordered it yet. So I haven't read anybody's stories.
Yeah, I'm going to order it.
So what is the title? What is your title called? And then because the book is called The Beings, right? So most people are going to think that it's only about like aliens, but it's not, because it could be about angels. It could be about spirit guides. So is your chapter about this Council of Eight that you're about to channel for us?
So, yes, my chapter is very much about what I've shared, my story in life, and how I've worked through those different parts of myself, and am still working through those parts. I've shared quite a lot of more in-depth of what my family was about, the fears that I've carried, the intergenerational trauma that you guys were speaking about, and how I've come to connect with them over time, and how they've always been around. Like even when I knocked over and killed the young girl, I think I shared a part of that where, I was standing in complete shock and people had stopped to come and look because the body had gone into bushes and I didn't know I was in farm territory. And the connection of that, there is, yes, we physically leave our physical form, but there's no death. And what had actually happened, I was standing against my car in shock, and the police had come, and I'd watched this gentleman literally take her jumper, her jersey, and an umbrella, and he put it on him, and it was a multicolored jersey. I remember looking, going, wow, how is this even possible? But when you stand back and you observe and you go, well, maybe in his world he needed it. Number one, he needed the jersey, and number two, well, it's a body, and he decided that it sounds awful when you think about it, but at the same time, well, if the clothes were there to be used, he decided that he was going to use the clothes. Is it right or wrong? At that time in my shock, I was like, wow, he's just taken clothes off a dead person's body. And that's how I felt, so disconnected. And that's been my learning, is to feel safe in my body. So to go, sorry, I'm digressing. I don't know why I digress, but to go back, I was trying to find it's actually called a compilation. So it's the beings, and people are speaking about how they've all been activated. Some of them are talking about ufology. Some of them, Philip Kinsella, he's a gentleman that speaks about something that happened in the 1980s.
We talked to him. We talked to him.
Oh, he's amazing human
3
being.
weeks ago.
He's such a beautiful man.
We just spoke with Harold yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah, we did.
We're speaking with Doug tomorrow.
Oh, they're just such incredible humans.
They are.
So it's a compilation of personal encounters and experiences with extra-dimensional beings.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is that it was meant to be launched on the 21st, but Mercury was in retrograde. And because it's got such information in it, we were all as a group going, "Woo, this is amazing!" Because it's when there's light that's needing to be shared. In my perception of life, it's kind of like, we dip. It's like we dip into the contraction, and it's like the vision I'll get is like we're giving birth, we're giving birth to this new way of being, and there's contraction, and we're in labor. We've got to push through. So it was interesting. Vera was amazing. She just kept pushing through and pushing through. So, and we were just bringing light to Amazon, like, come on.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That's so synchronistic to what Harold was saying yesterday.
Did you see me just sitting here looking up? I'm like, where did I hear something about birthing? I think that was Harold.
It was,
yesterday.
it was yesterday. We just talked to Harold about that. Yeah, he said basically the same
analogy.
Thing. Yeah.
I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, cool.
That's incredible. So yes, it's in hard copy, soft copy.
Well, yeah, you were talking about a man that took the girl's clothes after you hit her and she was passed. Like, I'm really thrown off and confused with that.
Doesn't make sense.
Before police arrived, and maybe this is just the difference from different countries. Like, I don't know if that's typical in a situation for somebody to do, but yes, that's bizarre. And just like, I thought you were going to tell us something like that was not an actual being, but it was an actual human doing that. Were you going to mention the light council of 8 or light beings or any kind of like spiritual experience in the midst of that happening? I felt like you were going to.
I don't think, things were just so chaos at that time, and I just completely disassociated from my body. There's no doubt, I don't think I had a near-death experience because I had whiplash, but I wasn't hurt.
Like complete shock. Yeah.
I was just in complete shock and just in adrenaline. And when you just said that, I remember standing against my car completely. Just, there was nothing. It's just like there's no words to describe what I was seeing. So exactly that moment of going, this is bizarre. And, I come from a country where there's extreme poverty. South Africa has extreme poverty, but extreme wealth. And that was his need in that moment. And is it right or wrong? Yes, it's shocking to us, but is it right or wrong? We could never, ever comprehend. I could never comprehend ever doing that, but put me in a situation where maybe I'm in a different space in my life. Who knows?
Yeah.
You just
he's obviously in a survival mode himself.
Well, Leslie, you're hitting something on the head here, because when we're in fight, flight, fright response, you never know, ever know what you're going to do. And if I may share something, that we were in an armed robbery in South Africa, and my husband, it's if you know a South African, most of us have been affected by crime in some way, whether it be a smash or grab. I've had that twice happen to me at a window. I've come up to a traffic light, and the one time I fought with a guy for my bag. And but my husband, we would go to barbecues, which South Africans, we call it a braai, and you try not go down that negative road, because it's all of us have been affected mostly in some way, true or form. And my husband used to go, well, why didn't you react like that? Or why didn't you respond? And I say to him, you never know how you're going to behave or be when you're in fight or flight.
You can't plan your response in that kind of moment.
No.
And even if you do, there's no chance that it'll actually happen like that, because, you know. Sorry, I didn't cut you off again. Sorry.
No, not at all, because it's something that happened to us where we had a break-in, and he said the very first thing that came to him was scream as loud as you can to get them off the property. And he screamed so loud he was hoarse that for 3 weeks, like he hurt his voice, you know. Yeah. And then he went, so he did that, and then he went into fight mode. Like, put on his trainers, and then we always had this agreement that I'd phone the police, and then once he was out the house, I locked the doors and I kept the kids to myself, and he was on his own mission. So you just never, ever, ever. And I feel like I'm not, the vibration's very low right now because of what I'm sharing, you know, and I know that it's hard hitting, but you just never know how people are going to respond when they're in fight, flight, fright mode. You know, I'm the kind of person that's like if something is reactive, I can't find my words, and I'm like, you know, whereas some people just go into that mode where it's like, bring it. And it's like being in a war. You just never know. Yeah. You just never know. And that's part of what I hope is that the discernment, and maybe the Council of Eight will bring some light to this. Oh, yeah. So when they come through, I take a few breaths, and they're normally pretty good. But if there's timing, if we get close to time, just say to them, you know, can we please bring Michelle back? They're normally pretty good. I have a timekeeper. But you're welcome to ask any questions. They'll probably give you like a monologue of what's going on at the moment, energetically. They speak metaphorically, but you know they might. I just never know. So please ask questions if you feel that you can ask questions. But if time is running out, then just say, please, can we bring Michelle back? Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
See you in a minute.
Welcome. We'll see you soon. See you on the other side.
Okay.
Thank God Michelle takes a step aside.
You're wonderful.
Thank you. We welcome you today. We thank you for your presence in your knowing of change. We, as the Council of Eight, as the angelic beings of light, we are excited for what is happening and what is becoming for humanity. We know in this connection between all of you, it is simple. When one sees another one, 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 when one sees another one. Think of how the seas create separation, yet bring connection. And it is interesting, as you were talking about the planes that you work on, as when one takes off, one lands. And when one is taking off, and we see that you are all taking off, you are all bringing in a different way of being. And when one takes off, one lands at times, and when one lands at times, one takes a sacred pause, takes a pause in their knowing. This is a rapid time of change for humanity, and yet we know that there is frustration, and the frustration is the same as the fear, and the fear is what is no longer, yet at the same time, a driving force for many, many, many humans. And as we are showing you with Michelle's hands right now, the vibration of fear is this. Think of it as starting a fire. And you have two rocks, and you are igniting, and we are sharing this with you as there are many fires that are being triggered around the world. Yet at the same time, in this connection, in your connection with one another, the flow is there. So we are excited for this journey. We are excited to share. We are excited for what is happening for humanity. It is a choice that you are all making, and we thank you, we thank you, we thank you for the seeds that are being planted. We thank you for the anointing that is happening with all of you here collectively today. So we are ready for questions. Please go ahead.
Wanted to thank you for being here, first of all, for sharing your energy and your wisdom with us, as you know, those on the call right now, but also for our audience who will be watching this. And I'm thinking of the collective as a whole when I ask you, what is the most important message that the Council of Eight wishes to convey to humanity during this great time of change on Earth?
This is a great question, and we thank you for the asking. It is simple as we see it. We have said to many before that they are powerful. You are all equally powerful here. And as you are finding your voices of reconciliation, notice how we say this, your voices of reconciliation. When one is reconciling, one is taking stock, are they not?
Mm-hmm.
So when one is taking stock of what once was, what once was, what once was, what once was, yet here you are. And the only way through these bumpy roads ahead is in connection to the divine. You are all a spark of the divine. You are all connected to divine, source, God, and your knowing is showing up in a space of love. It is interesting, as notice how in the sharing of Michelle's journey up until this point in time, many make judgments. She has shared this with you already, and when one makes a judgment of another human, you are very well aware that it is a judgment on yourself, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it is important as we see it, expand into the consciousness of love. See humans. When you see humans, you smile at them. When you see humans in a space of displacement, as the beloved Leslie had shared, you had seen this other woman in her own space. Yet may we say to you, that she is happier than so many unhappy humans. Yet you humans seem to think, and notice how we say this, you humans seem to think that others that have less than do not have enough. It is not true. They may have lost a lot. They may not have what you all collectively have together. Yet as she was walking, talking to herself, may we say, in her own space of bliss. Yet here you were describing how you saw a young man gift back to her. And as he was gifting her, she was gifting him, as she was gifting you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is always, 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 always in a space of enlightenment. Yet humans seem to think not. So when one looks at another one with the light that they are, the light that they have within, the divine shines through. And please know that there is a huge amount of fear that is playing itself out already for humanity. And there is a huge amount of mistrust in the faction fighting that is already happening. And there is a huge amount of misguidance. Not good, not bad as we see it. Many of you have been following many of the leaders, many of the people that are in power. And this is where the displacement is coming. So yes, find your own home inside of you. This was your life lesson today, beloved Leslie. Inside of you.
Beautiful.
We think so too. So it is a time of, what does home look like? How is home feeling? What does your home feel like to you? Is it heavy? Do you have too much or not? What does even too much look like? What does too much feel like? It is simple. If you open up a drawer and the drawer has too much in it, then already there is too much in you. You are holding. Do you see how we go into contraction? Yet when one is in expansion, one is ready at any moment, in any time, to feel the freedom of love. It is encased. And think of it like this. When one packs their bags, you put it into a case, do you not? And one puts them into certain parts, and then you repack it as you may take too much. And you often say to yourselves, I packed too much for that holiday. I packed too much for that trip. I overpacked. Well, are you packing light? Or are you packing light? Or are you packing light? So simple. We think it's so simple. Yet many of you like to pack heavy. And this is the observation. This is the observation. This is the observation. And when one packs light, one feels light, one is light, and one is vulnerable in their lightness. We hope this makes sense.
I'm digging it.
Yeah. I have a question. How can individuals best navigate the current energetic shifts and the challenges that we are experiencing?
Well, is life challenging? If you seem to believe that it is challenging, it will be challenging.
Okay.
Do you see how you energetically and miraculously created that woman into your space today? Interesting, is it not? She looked like she was packing heavy. She looked like she had a heavy home that she had to push. Yet the navigation is simple as we see it. How are you navigating and keeping to yourself on your soulful journey? Your soul knows. Your soul is well aware. You have already spoken to Michelle about her soul's journey incarnated into this lifetime. Yes, it feels as if it is a big journey. Yes, it feels as if it is a heavy journey for many. Yet at the same time, it is a journey regardless. Your soul has its knowing. Your soul has its truth. And your souls are vast. So in order to navigate, think of it like this. What is your internal compass sharing with you all individually right now? You talk about your dogs. Isn't it interesting? One starts and then the next and then the next and then the next.
Yep.
And then the next and the next and the next. And they go backwards and forwards and forwards and backwards. And you may as well all be conductors of your own journeys. And this is the truth. How are you conducting yourself? How are you being the conductor of light? How are you wanting to speak to yourself in your moment of truth? So when one has and carries the anger, the one carries the embarrassment, the frustration, and this is all what is unraveling for many of you. So shake it off, as Michelle suggested. Shake it off. And then come back into connection. What is your truth, may we ask? What defines, yet defies all logic? So when one... correct. So it is easy as we see it. It is simple. Keep life simple. When one is feeling into And notice how we say this, feeling into the chaos. You are then connecting into that. Bring yourself back. And it is not easy at times. We are not taking away the human experience, the life lessons that you are all learning. Yet as you shake it off, you bring yourself back, you bring yourself back, you bring yourself back, you bring yourself back. And you hold yourself, and you nourish yourself, and you gift yourself time. Time of this monumental shift is happening for humanity. And there are many souls that are leaving right now, are there not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are.
Yet they are all still around, still around, still around, still around, still around. They are all still around. They just leave because their choosing is to be back in to their light form. We hope this makes sense.
What role does compassion and kindness play in the evolution of humanity, and how can we embody these qualities more fully?
Well, it is not a quality as we see it. It is an emotional embodiment of who you are. Did you not say to Michelle that you are grateful that she is still here, no matter what has been thrown at her in this journey of being on a discourse? Or when one is on a discourse, one needs to get back onto their own course of change. So think of it like this, shrug it off. Humans, we believe, take things far too personally. Shrug it off. When one smiles at another, when one connects with another, that is pure compassion. That is being in your space of light. No matter what one has said to another, you humans have a statement, hurt people, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is very true in my opinion.
Well, it is only an opinion. When one has an opinion, one has opposing thoughts. One has opposing understandings. Think of it like this. It is a cell that is split.
Okay.
So you are splitting your cells every single time you have an opposing thought of negativity, an opposing judgment, an opposing non-understanding. As when one is non-understanding, we know that you rescue animals, do you not?
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Yet at the same time, those animals have been reunited.
Oh.
Reunited with yourselves. Yet the humans that once hurt them were hurting themselves, hence the cell was split. Is split. God was split inside of them. We know that it is not easy to comprehend this, as there is a huge amount of cruelty that is on display. And we have said this to Michelle before, and many others. Many of you go to these universal places. Many of you go to these connections. The pyramids is one. Yet there is cruelty. And at the same time, this massive amount of enlightenment that happens. So you look up, you look up, you look up, you look up, but we are saying, look within. Compassion starts with one. And then it is growing and growing and growing. Kindness starts within. Yet you humans have been taught, give it, 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 give it to that person. Notice how we share the vibration of give it. It is not loving and kind, is it? So everything is playing itself out to bring you all back into, and yet you unravel and then you bring yourself back, and you unravel and you bring yourself back. Start with a loving, kind, compassionate thought. And then a loving, kind, compassionate breath. And then a loving, kind, compassionate smile. And then a loving, kind, compassionate hug. And then loving, kind, compassionate space of connection to one. So it is simple. Smile at somebody else. When somebody frowns at you, do not take umbrance to it. Know that they may be in their own space of their own connection, not disconnection, connection. Everything is frequency, everything is vibration, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
So we would love to end off with a frequency of discombobulation. As many of you are feeling the discombobulation, we will start with the discombobulation frequency to help you align back into yourself, your cellular selves. And then we will end off with a blessing of light, if we may.
Excellent.
Do you have any more questions, please?
You literally just answered the question I was about to ask you, Council of Eight. I had it all lined up, ready to ask for tones or frequencies of love that can help us to raise our vibrations, and you took the thought out of my head, so thanks.
We thank
Council, what is your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
We do not live in a space of hope.
Oh.
Humans have hope.
Okay.
We only exist in love. Plain and simple, simple and plain. Nothing else exists in between. You humans try and force things. You try and force it. I hope. Does this look like it's hopeful?
No.
I hope. We don't think so either. Yet, if you are to look at a wise soul, an old wise man or old wise woman, the shamans are not pretty, are they? We were sharing a vibration to help you with your solar plexus. You are all holding on for the hope. Yet the hope for humanity, and it is happening, it is shifting, it is radically, as you are all creating your communities, are you not?
Mm-hmm.
Yet many of you are holding your breaths, wishing it would happen quicker. Yet everything that is being changing within the dynamic of all the frequencies, with all you beings, with all of you light beings, with all of you cellular souls. This has been coming for many moments in time. So may we please end off with a blessing of love.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We ask you to let your breath flow through you. We thank you one, we thank you all. Namaste.
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 Thank you. That was beautiful.
Hi,
Welcome back, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. How did you find them?
They're funny. You're right. They had a sense of humor. I was like, oh, snap. Okay.
They're super funny. I know. They have the most delightful vibration. So thank you for that opportunity. And,
oh, man. Thank you.
Thank
what are you kidding? I'm just sitting here like in bliss from that whole thing. I'm just like, wow, I'm so lucky.
Thank you.
We say that a lot. We're so lucky.
Yeah, I love that. And the vibrations that you're putting off within that are just awesome. So that was really good.
Thank you so much. And honestly, it's different every time. And all of what has been shared. And I'm just very, very grateful because it's a learning that everything is frequency.
Yes, for sure.
Humans are feeling it on a deep cellular level, which is awesome.
Yes.
I honestly just closed my eyes and focused on the sound.
I did too.
Yeah. I didn't even know you guys were doing that because my eyes were closed. But my eyes were closed and I was focusing on the sound and I was just like feeling the vibes going through my eardrums. So yeah,
that was amazing. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for having us, and I'm looking forward to what's next. That's in store, and who knows,
I found from the message, I was gathering basically. I know that I don't know if you mentioned it here in this one, but that you've mentioned before, that you resonate with the number 8 and the infinity symbol, which I can relate to that as well for myself. But I guess I was thinking of the infinity symbol and coming back to love and the centeredness within self. And yes, there's all this negative stuff happening here and all this wonderfully positive stuff happening over here. And it if you look at the whole thing from a wider perspective, that we can't have, all the positive without the negative. And it comes back to like, it all has purpose. And the goal, I guess, would be to within self and to be able to just come back to that and take a breath and, not be overreactive to the negative and be compassionate more so for some of that. And then, I don't know what I was saying, but just come back to love. I don't know. That's what I was seeing for that.
I hear you, and I think sometimes that it can be a very it can be so misunderstood, in the sense of how do we not get triggered or tied into things that are going on around the world? It's impossible to not feel those emotions at times. For me, it's virtually, I wish I could be a monk on a mountain like every single day, like, hey, tuned into you guys, like, woo, like just talking the way they talk, and being in that frequency. And it's not to say that I'm not, because what happens when we elevate our consciousness, as an example, I was in our town and we had a crystal shop which is closed, but something just led me to go there and want to go say hi to the owner. And as I walked in, his late wife had just passed over. As I walked in, he was like, Michelle, this is just profound that you're here right now. And I said, oh, wow, I'm hearing the song, because I often hear songs as a medium, and that's when I use a lot of music in my therapy. But that's what I hope, is that it's okay that people allow themselves to be vulnerable, because in vulnerability, there's authenticity. And again, it's a learning to just come back into a space. I can go off on tangents every now and again and go off onto things that I watch, and I'm like, oh, stop. I have to stop myself and say, come, and just send that person love, whether it be somebody who's murdered somebody or somebody. I've got no right to judge, no right. I really don't. I've taken a life, and it's something that a friend said to me many years ago. Going back to fight, flight, fright, you never know how you're going to respond in that moment. You just never know.
And it's very likely in a past life or something we've probably been through many different experiences.
Oh,
and where we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Where we're at the other end of big mistakes.
Yeah. And I watched something the other day where somebody said, can we all just stop trying to find out what star planet we come from and what star seed we are? Because we're here to be the human. We're here to have the human experience. And the better we are in our compassion and our love and our kindness, that's where we evolve. Is having this time, this with each other, giving each other time. It's priceless. Yeah. You can't put money on time. And I feel like that's what we're kind of swimming through at this moment, in time. Gotcha. And if we show up as we are, hey, man, I think we've got a beautiful world coming in.
Hey, I love that.
Such a great point.
From in the very beginning and discussing who we find out is Mary, I felt like we should dedicate, I don't know, this
that thought crossed my mind too. Yeah, we could dedicate
Mary,
this
and I guess
Mary.
I should ask what you think about that, and we can, edit this out if you want, but I don't know. I just felt that.
So sorry, do you want to dedicate this to Mary, the mom? Is that what I heard you say?
The child. I didn't know. I thought the child's name.
No, so her mom's name is Mary, and her name is, I think it's, if I can remember correctly, is Nontla, which is I think it's a Zulu or Xhosa name. And she just came through as such a little, I just remember her because she was just so lively and just like, hi, Michelle, hi, and it's okay. And just, it's okay. And again, pure compassion for her mom to pick up the phone and find out how I was. That for me is something that will continuously always touch my heart.
Yeah. Imagine it helps you in your healing process as well.
Wow. Yeah. That's love, guys. That's pure essence of just reaching out and just saying, hey, it's like, wow.
Yeah, that was really, really profound for the mom to react like that, because she could have easily taken the route of anger and blame and hatred and dismay for you, but instead she recognized you as the human being that you currently are, and she was like, I'm going to reach out with compassion and love because she's affected by this just as much as we are. Well, maybe, I don't know about comparing how much, but you get my point that you were affected by it, too.
In her way, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And, just to quickly end off, you never know how our individual stories are going to impact on another human being. And I'd met a mom recently where she came to me for a reading, and her daughter was taken in an accident. I mean, this young girl was texting on her phone, and her daughter had passed over in an accident. And this mom was so angry, and I kept picking up on it. But when I shared because she's like, how did she just go partying? How did she just leave? She just left New Zealand. And I said to her, can I share my story with you?
Wow.
And when I shared my story with her, we just cried together, and I said, I too just went partying. I was engaged and married within 8 months. I was so lost because we don't want to acknowledge that. I didn't want to acknowledge that I'd taken another person's life. Nobody ever wants to acknowledge that, how huge that is. And I mean, this is 1998. So I don't know, I'm not great with maths, but what do we, it's 20 odd years, 30 odd years, I don't know. What's
25, I don't know.
The engineer in our group, the engineer, work out the maths.
30. Yeah, it might be 30 something.
Yeah. But, this, you see how there's no time difference, because I met this mom and I was able to share with her, this was my experience. And I hope in some way that it brought her some kind of compassion for the young girl, because she was so angry at this young girl because of her own loss. And when I shared with her that the mom had reached out to me, she kind of just looked at me and I said, yeah, who knew? And I don't want to make this about me, but in our stories, in our sharing, my hope is it brought some compassion to this mom that was going through such devastation.
Yeah.
And I hope that it gets out to viewers, or anybody else that can share the story with somebody they know that's going through similar things and dealing with similar things. It's a beautiful message, and to see, what you're doing now, and the light that you shine, and the compassion and love that you have for yourself and others is a beautiful thing. And I think, you know, in the bigger picture, you know, we are eternal spiritual beings having a temporary human experience.
Yeah.
And from my understanding through hearing many near-death experiences and other spiritual experiences is that this is a flash of an eye. And it's like Ali said, it's Earth School for our spirits. And, you know, and everything is connected and everything does have purpose. And it's all about our growth, I think, and spiritual growth to come to a place of love and compassion for ourselves and then for others.
Well said. Beautiful.
Very well said. Yeah.
A great way to end off.
Well, can you please do us a favor and tell everybody where they can find you, what services you offer really quickly, please?
Awesome. So I have my spiritual mediumship, and then I have my Council of 8 sessions. You can find me at www.michellecarpenter.co.nz, and I look forward to walking the journey with you. They're both very different sessions, and I use a lot of music in my therapy, and I feel incredibly honored to have the invite to walk with anybody on their journey. And I dive deep, and I love it, and I love what I do, and I'm here to be in service. So please connect with me. I look forward to the connection, and thank you guys for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, we'll have the links to your stuff in the video description box below, and I'll display it on the screen. So thank you for everybody that's tuned in. For our audience that's still sticking around, please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends.
Much love.
Peace.
I
And
love
namaste.
it. Yay!
Oh, you got hearts.
Oh, you got hearts. Yay.
Good hearts.
How come we don't ever get hearts?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know.